This is Amanda Venditti with Hawbecker and Garver. I'm one of the attorneys over here. I'm going through the 8.0 contract with you today. I'm doing actually the first page of the contract. I'm going to go ahead and screen share now so that you can see what we will be going through. All right, I have it pulled up. So the very first paragraph here, we are talking about the parties to the contract. So this is the buyer and seller name. On this one, I think the most important thing to note is for your seller name to make sure that it doesn't say OOR, owner of record, and that you actually get the correct seller name in here. We can always correct if it's, an LLC or a trust, something like that, seller or buyer, but we will have to do an addendum, especially if it just says OOR. All right, also on this one, you can see that if you have dual agency, you're going to go ahead and check the box here. And then there's additional information in paragraph 30 for you to go and complete. All right, next up, we have paragraph 2, the real estate contract. All right, or the real estate, I'm sorry. So the real estate, this is where you're going to put the lot size or acreage and the address of the property, along with PIN numbers and whether or not it's a single family attached, detached, or multi-unit. So let's start with the lot size or acreage. On this one, you're going to make sure if it's a condo, you can write condo or common. A lot of people put that in there because or you can even look up to see what the square footage of the property is. You can usually find this kind of information for a single family or condo on the assessor's website. So you can look at that and go from there. Just so you know, on a sale side of this, if this is filled in for us, we usually switch it to per survey just to make sure that it's the actual correct item. If you have a survey, even better, that gives us the actual acreage. All right, next up you have the address. Just make sure you're putting in the unit number. If you know the county, that's great to put in, especially since some cities are in multiple counties. The permanent index number, and it says numbers, just so that you know, you need to make sure that you are putting, if there's multiple unit numbers, putting all of them. This is really important. If you look down further, you'll see if there's designated parking or storage. Sometimes they have their own PIN number, and that has a space there. So the unit number is going to go in line 10. If there is parking and storage and one of them has a separate PIN, those go in lines 13 or 15 respectively. If you know the parking space number or the storage space number, it would be great if you can put it in, just because we like to clarify those, along with whether or not it's an assigned space and limited common element, if you know those things. If not, we are going to be double checking an attorney review on the buy and then confirming if we know on the sale. The other thing, to go back up a little bit, is a single family attached, single family detached, or a multi-unit, right? So the one thing I'd like to point out is a lot of people, they see the single family attached and they really don't know what it's for. What a single family attached is a townhome or a condo where your walls touch. That is where you're going to have a single family attached. It's not, if you were doing a detached, that would be and you lived in a condo, it's the whole building, right? And then you would actually be looking at multi-unit. All right, so next up, we're going to have paragraph 3. Let me scroll down a little bit there. All right, so this is your purchase price and your payment, okay? So first of all, you're going to put your purchase price in, all right, easy enough. And that's where any changes or anything to the purchase price, if you're going back and forth on this offer, just make sure if they get crossed out, they're all initialed, or that the new finalized version is initialed. All right, then you're going to go credit at closing. This is if there are any credits. The one thing I want to point out is that it says in line 20, and if not, such lesser amount as the lender permits. So if you're trying to do a $20,000 closing cost credit right off the bat, just know you're probably going to want to go to your lender to verify that that's actually even possible. All right. Next up, we have earnest money, how much you're going to be putting down for earnest money, then putting in line 23 there, how many business days after acceptance it's due. Same thing where it talks about if there's any additional earnest money. This is usually after attorney review. That would be filled in with the extra amount, as well as when it needs to be tendered by. So you can put either a date, a lot of people put the completion of attorney review, whatever everyone is comfortable with on that. All right. Next, in line 25, you're just going to check whether or not, who's holding the earnest money, I should say, the listing agent, the buyer's agent's brokerage, or another third party. So that's usually if the title company is holding it. On occasion, and one of the attorneys holds it, but that's where you would do that. Okay. Then in line 30, you're going to see if the home warranty applies, and you would check there. And then the additional information on that is in paragraph 33. The one thing to note on this is that for paragraph 3 now, the whole point of this on this first page is to make sure that anything that when your seller is looking to see which offer they want to take, right? They're looking here and they're like, I can see the purchase price, I can see the closing cost credit, how much they're willing to give in earnest money, and if they want a home warranty or not. So it makes it much easier to compare and contrast different offers because everything is in one spot. All right. Next, same thing, it kind of helps there too. With the offers is paragraph 4. It's about your compensation. So this is where we list now, instead of the addendum like we did previously, where or how much the buyer agent is going to be paid by the seller, if at all. All right, so you'll see line 33 is talking about whether or not seller agrees to pay the buyer's brokerage, and it's a percentage, or in line 34, a specific dollar amount. Okay, and then 35 is if they're not paying the commission, initials go there. The one thing I really want to point out on this is for the purchase price, if you are going to be putting in percentage, or if you're putting in the dollar amount, this is based off of the purchase price. Okay, so the percentage is off the purchase price, but the dollar amount won't move. So let's say you put in that you are doing 2.5% of the purchase price, and the purchase price changes for whatever reason. We have to lower it because of credits. We under attorney review, appraisal, anything like that, your percentage is based off of what the purchase price is, so that can adjust. The same comes to if it's just a regular, if you put in there, we just get 20,000 flat, all right? That doesn't change. So if the purchase price goes down because of a low appraisal, you're still getting $20,000. So that's just something to note as buyer or seller. If that is filled in, that is not going to fluctuate. All right, next up we have the closing date. All right, so the closing date, pretty self-explanatory. We're just saying when we want the closing to happen. Now, the one thing I will say is when we have disputes, a lot of them are over the closing date. So when I'm helping a client, if they don't have an agent or something along those lines, I always tell them the one thing that I have the hardest time changing is closing date. I'm not allowed to change the purchase price, but I also can't, the closing date can be very difficult. People put it in because they know that they're going to be not out of the country. They're, they have work off that month, day, so sometimes people put that in on a very specific date for a reason. So then trying to change, even if it's within 2 days of the signature, we see pushback on this one a lot. So just know that when you're signing, make sure that closing date works for you. Obviously, closing date's a little bit like a due date. You hope that it's going on that date. We're all pushing that it goes towards that date, but mortgages, waiting for other items to come in, sometimes it has to get pushed. But it's just important that we're not trying to switch that at the beginning, right after you signed it. So if you can just make sure that date works for you, that's the best. All right, and last but not least on this first page, just going over possession a little bit. So this is saying at closing, you have to deliver possession to the property, all right? That means that you are no longer there, that you have given them keys, access to the property, you have vacated, and we'll talk about condition of the property later, but when you close, you need to be out of the house and willing to transfer possession to the buyer at that time. We'll also talk about whether or not you want post-closing possession later in paragraph 35. But if you're not, this is just stating, please note you need to be out of the house at the time of closing. All right, thanks everybody.